Michael sat on the edge of the bed, his heart pounding with a heaviness he could no longer ignore. He watched his wife of 30 years get ready for an evening of dinner and dancing, a familiar ritual, but tonight felt different. Tonight, the air between them was thick with unspoken words and a sadness he couldn't shake. She's more beautiful tonight than she's ever been, he thought, his chest tightening. Dawn was turning 50 tomorrow, and while the big celebration with their children and grandchildren was planned for the next day, tonight was just for them and a private, intimate evening. But even as he admired her graceful movements at the dressing table, the sadness crept back in. She still has it, he pondered. Gorgeous hair, a beautiful face, and that trim figure she worked so hard to maintain. And, of course, that teasing smile and playful confidence that had always captivated him. But along with the pride and love he felt for her, there was a gnawing sense of loss. How did we get here, he wondered, his analytical mind racing. He had always been the problem solver, the one people turned to for logical, well-thought-out answers. But no amount of analysis had prepared him for this, the fear that this might be the last time he watched his wife get ready for a night out. The questions rolled over him like waves. What did I miss? What did I do wrong? Do I really know her anymore? For months, he had noticed the signs. The growing distance between them. The slow but steady decline in their intimacy. The occasional harshness in her words when he made small mistakes. And then there were the lies. Small ones at first, but then unmistakable ones like the dinner charged to their credit card at Jolly's restaurant on a night he knew he hadn't been with her. And yet the past 2 weeks had been even more confusing. Almost overnight she had become attentive, affectionate, even eager to rekindle their physical connection. She was trying harder than she had in years. But why now? And why did it feel so off? He swallowed hard, knowing that tonight was a crossroads. A conversation they had avoided for too long was inevitable. This evening would either be the beginning of something new, or the end of everything they had built together. Taking a breath, he spoke softly. Honey, I just want to tell you how much I love you, how much I've always loved you. You're beautiful, and I adore you. Dawn glanced at his reflection in the mirror, her brow furrowed with curiosity. Thank you, Mike, she said carefully. I don't know what brought that on, but I want you to know I love you just as much. She studied him, worry flickering across her face. He's been so distant lately, she thought. The harder I try to fix things, the more withdrawn he becomes. But I won't give up. I love him too much. Mike's voice broke the silence again, this time almost a whisper. I wonder if you really love me as much as I love you. She turned sharply. What did you say? She asked, her voice trembling. Michael, you've been mumbling for weeks. Please just say what's on your mind. Meeting her gaze, he spoke clearly this time. I wonder if you really love me as much as I love you. The shock on her face would have been almost comical if the moment hadn't been so painful. Her eyes widened and she opened her mouth in disbelief. How could you even think that? She asked, her voice laced with hurt. Why would you say something like that? And in the quiet that followed, both of them knew the conversation they had been avoiding was finally here. Those words really hurt, honey, Michael said, his voice tight with emotion. We need to talk. I have questions, serious ones. I don't want your answers now, but by the end of the night I will. Ask me anything, Dawn whispered. I have no secrets from you. You're my husband, my soulmate. Michael almost laughed bitterly. The tension in his body felt like a wire about to snap. For months you shut me out. Then suddenly you're bending over backward to please me, like you're trying to make up for something. Your mood swings have been exhausting. You lied about where you were, and then there was that credit card charge, dinner for two, and I know I wasn't there. So tell me, do you want a divorce? Do you love someone else? How many times have you cheated? Do you even want to stay married? And if you do, why should I? Dawn sat frozen, her mind reeling. Michael mistook her silence for composure, but she was simply at a loss for words. Finish packing, he said quietly. I'll be waiting, downstairs. Somehow she got through dinner, though the weight of his accusations hung heavy in the air. She drank too much, and by the time they got home she was too drained to speak. Sleep claimed her quickly. The next morning, Michael was already at the table when she came downstairs. "Morning," he said. "Coffee?" "Yes, please," she replied softly. "Last night I laid it all out," he said. "Now it's your turn. Tell me the truth." Dawn took a shaky breath. "Michael, you are the only man I've ever loved. The only man I've been with since our wedding day. I don't want a divorce. I never did. There is no other man. I've never cheated. Never. I want to stay married, more than anything. I'll stay faithful to you until death do us part. That credit card charge? A business dinner I forgot to mention. And the only reason you need to stay with me is this. I love you. With everything I am. I love only you with all my heart, body, and soul. It's my fault for being away from you for so long. And it's also your fault for being away from me. I believe we both went through a dry spell in our marriage and didn't even realize it at the time, but lately, I started to remember why I love you, and for the past 2 weeks I've been trying to smother you with my love. My way of reigniting the fire we almost let die. Michael looked at Dawn's face, his eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her heart pound. Dawn met his gaze, with a calm expression, steady and unflinching. "Michael, you must know that I love you and only you," she whispered. Michael kept looking at his wife, but slowly his face began to change. The sadness in his eyes grew, his expression shifting into something broken and lost. The air grew heavy between them. "Michael, what's wrong? Are you sick?" Dawn's voice cracked with worry. "Do I need to call 911? Finally, Michael spoke, in a low, monotone voice. "Dawn, I love you with all my heart and soul, and I was hoping we could finally be honest with each other." His voice trembled. "But I guess you just can't, or won't, be honest with me. I gave you every chance because I wanted to stay married to you for the rest of our lives." Michael's voice grew stronger, his tone now carrying the edge of anger. "I've done everything I could to save our marriage. I fought for us, and I know you didn't." He reached into his lap and pulled out a large manila envelope, sliding it across the table toward her. "Dawn, I still love you, but love alone is not enough, and I no longer want to be your husband." His voice softened, but the pain remained. "I've filed for divorce. You'll need to find a lawyer, and when you do, have them contact mine. I don't want to see you or speak to you again. I'm going to pack my things now, and I'll be leaving soon." He stood up slowly. "I should say I'm sorry, but since I don't believe you are, I see no reason to feel that way. You made your bed, Dawn, and now you'll have to sleep in it. Without me. Forever." Michael turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing through the silence. Dawn sat frozen at the kitchen table, her mind unable to process what had just happened. The sound of Michael packing upstairs drifted down to her like a distant storm. An hour passed before she finally reached for the envelope with trembling hands. She opened it, pulling out the papers that spelled out the end of the life she had known. Why doesn't he believe me? Why does he think all these horrible things about me? Tears blurred her vision. We could fix this if only he'd give us a chance. Her eyes fell on something still inside the envelope. She pulled it out and felt her heart stop. It was a photograph of her, in their bed, with another man. The room spun around her. A strangled cry escaped her lips as the reality crashed down on her. Michael knew. He had known all along. And she realized with crushing despair that she had been a fool to think her lies would hold. She had ended the affair. She had tried to repair the damage. But the truth she had hidden was the very thing that had destroyed them. The finality of it hit her like a blow. Michael was gone, and he was never coming back. She had lost the only man she had ever truly loved. And in the end, the fleeting pleasure of her betrayal wasn't worth a single moment of the life she had shared with him. The vows they had once spoken, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, echoed in her mind like a cruel reminder of what she had shattered. Now the pain she felt was just a shadow of the pain she had inflicted on him, but it was the worst pain she had ever known. She would carry it with her forever, because once you become a cheater, you stay one. Forever.